Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Carmen's father stood up, looking slightly awkward but determined to be supportive. Why don't I order us some dinner while you two do that? We can have a proper celebration when you're ready. Carmen nodded, grateful for his understanding. As her father stepped into the kitchen to make the call, Carmen and Jennifer gathered the dress, makeup, and wig, heading to the bedroom. Once inside, Carmen hesitated, suddenly feeling self-conscious. Jennifer sensed her unease and gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "We'll take it one step at a time," she said gently. "There's no rush, okay?" Carmen nodded, taking a deep breath to calm her nerves. She carefully removed her clothes, hyper-aware of every masculine feature of her body. But as she slipped the emerald green dress over her head, she felt a thrill of excitement. Jennifer helped her zip up the back, and Carmen turned to look in the full-length mirror on the closet door. The dress hugged her body in all the right places, creating the illusion of curves where there were none. For the first time, Carmen saw a glimpse of the woman she knew herself to be. "You look beautiful," Jennifer said softly, standing behind Carmen and meeting her eyes in the mirror. Carmen smiled, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I feel right," she whispered. "Like I'm finally seeing myself clearly." Jennifer squeezed her shoulders gently. "Ready for makeup?" Carmen nodded, and they moved to the vanity. Jennifer carefully applied foundation, concealer, and powder, explaining each step as she went. She showed Carmen how to contour her face to soften her jawline and accentuate her cheekbones. As Jennifer worked on Carmen's eyes, applying subtle shades of green eyeshadow to complement the dress, Carmen found herself relaxing. The familiar scent of the makeup reminded her of watching her mother get ready for special occasions, and she felt a bittersweet pang in her chest. "I wish she could see this," Carmen said softly as Jennifer applied a coat of mascara. Jennifer paused, meeting Carmen's eyes. "She can," she said with conviction. "She's watching over you, and I know she's proud of you for embracing who you are." Carmen nodded, blinking back tears. Jennifer finished the look with a soft pink lipstick, then stepped back to admire her work. "Want to see?" she asked, holding up a hand mirror. Carmen took a deep breath and nodded. As she looked at her reflection, she gasped softly. The person staring back at her was undeniably feminine, with soft features and striking eyes. For the first time, her outer appearance matched the way she felt inside. "It's me," she whispered, touching her face in wonder. "It's really me." Jennifer smiled, her eyes shining with love and pride. "Yes, it is. You're beautiful, Carmen." Carmen turned her attention to the wig. With Jennifer's help, she pinned up her natural hair and carefully positioned the wig. The effect was transformative. Suddenly, Carmen looked like the woman she had always dreamed of being. "Are you ready to show your dad?" Jennifer asked gently. Carmen hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, I think I am." Hand in hand, they made their way back to the living room. Carmen's father was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. When he looked up and saw Carmen, his eyes widened, and he slowly stood. "Carmen?" he said, his voice filled with wonder. Carmen nodded, suddenly feeling shy. "What do you think, Dad?" Her father crossed the room in a few quick strides and enveloped her in a tight hug. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Just like your mother." At those words, Carmen broke down once more, clinging to her father as tears streamed down her face. But this time they were tears of joy and relief, joy at being seen and accepted for who she truly was, and relief that she no longer had to hide. As they pulled apart, Carmen's father cupped her face in his hands, his eyes shining with love and determination. "I want you to know that I'm here for you every step of the way. Whatever you need, doctors, therapists, legal help to change your name and documents, I'll support you." Carmen nodded, overwhelmed by his acceptance. Thank you, Dad. That means everything to me. Jennifer joined them, wrapping an arm around Carmen's waist. We're all here for you, love. You're not alone in this. As they stood there, a family united in love and support, Carmen felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road ahead would not be easy, but with her father and Jennifer by her side, she knew she could face anything. The doorbell rang, interrupting the moment. That must be dinner, Carmen's father said, wiping his eyes and moving to answer the door. As he paid for the food, Carmen and Jennifer began clearing space on the dining table. The apartment was filled with the delicious aroma of Italian cuisine, Carmen's favorite comfort food. They settled around the table, passing containers of pasta and salad. For a moment, it felt like any other family dinner. But as Carmen caught her reflection in the window, she was reminded of how much had changed in just one day. So, her father said, twirling spaghetti around his fork. What's next? Do you have any ideas about transitioning? Carmen felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. I've been doing some research, she admitted. There are hormone therapies and surgeries, but it's a long process. And expensive. Her father nodded thoughtfully. We'll figure out the financial side of things. Your mother and I, we always saved for your future. I think this qualifies. Tears pricked at Carmen's eyes once more. Dad, you don't have to. I want to, he interrupted gently. Jennifer squeezed Carmen's hand under the table. And I'll be here every step of the way, she added. We can research doctors together, find support groups, whatever you need. Carmen looked between her father and Jennifer, feeling a swell of love and gratitude. I don't know what to say, she said softly. I never imagined. I was so scared for so long. You don't have to be scared anymore, her father said firmly. We're in this together. As they continued to eat and talk, discussing the practicalities of Carmen's transition and sharing memories of her mother, Carmen felt a sense of rightness settle over her. For the first time in her life, she was truly herself, surrounded by love and acceptance. Later that night, after her father had gone home with promises to call in the morning, Carmen stood in front of the mirror once more. She had removed the wig and makeup, but she still wore the emerald green dress. Jennifer came up behind her, wrapping her arms around Carmen's waist. How are you feeling? Jennifer asked softly. Carmen leaned back into her embrace, a small smile playing on her lips. Overwhelmed, she admitted. But in a good way. I feel free. Jennifer pressed a kiss to Carmen's shoulder. I'm so proud of you. You know that? It takes incredible courage to be true to yourself. Carmen turned in Jennifer's arms, facing her partner. I couldn't have done it without you, she said earnestly. Your love and support, it means everything to me. Carmen yawned, the emotional toll of the day finally catching up with her. Come on, Jennifer said, taking her hand. Let's get you to bed. We've got a big journey ahead of us. As they lay in bed that night, Carmen curled up in Jennifer's arms. She felt a sense of peace she had never known before. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time, she was excited about the future. She was finally on the path to becoming her true self, with the love and support of her family behind her. Carmen drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the woman she was becoming and the life that lay ahead. In her dreams, she saw her mother smiling at her, radiating love and pride, and Carmen knew deep in her heart that everything was going to be okay. The next morning, Carmen awoke to the soft sunlight filtering through the curtains. For a moment, she lay still, memories of the previous day washing over her. It hadn't been a dream. Her secret was out, and she had been met with love and acceptance. She turned her head to find Jennifer still asleep beside her, dark hair splayed across the pillow. Carmen's heart swelled with love for her partner, grateful for her unwavering support. Carefully, so as not to wake Jennifer, Carmen slipped out of bed and padded to the bathroom. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, taking in her features with new eyes. The face looking back at her was the same one she'd seen every day of her life, but now it held the promise of transformation. Carmen ran her fingers through her hair, imagining how it would look longer, framing her face in soft waves. She touched her jaw, feeling the slight stubble that had grown overnight, and thought about the smooth skin she longed for. A soft knock on the door interrupted her reverie. "Carmen?" Jennifer's voice called out, still husky with sleep. "You okay in there?" Carmen opened the door, smiling at the sight of Jennifer in her oversized t-shirt, hair mussed from sleep. "I'm fine," she said. "Just thinking." Jennifer pulled her into a warm embrace. "Penny for your thoughts." Carmen leaned into the hug, drawing comfort from Jennifer's presence. "It's all so overwhelming," she admitted. "There's so much to think about, so many decisions to make. I don't even know where to start." Jennifer pulled back slightly, meeting Carmen's eyes. "We'll figure it out together, one step at a time. Why don't we start with breakfast, and then we can make a list of everything we need to research?" Carmen nodded, grateful for Jennifer's practical approach. They made their way to the kitchen, working in comfortable silence to prepare coffee and toast. As they sat at the kitchen table, Carmen's phone buzzed with a text from her father. "Dad wants to know if we'd like to meet for lunch," she said, looking up from the screen. "He says he's been doing some research and wants to talk about next steps." Jennifer smiled. "That's great. Your dad is really stepping up." Carmen nodded, feeling a rush of affection for her father. "I never expected him to be so accepting. It's amazing." They spent the morning researching gender therapists and hormone replacement therapy, making notes and compiling a list of questions for Carmen's father. By the time they needed to leave for lunch, Carmen felt more grounded, the overwhelming feeling from earlier replaced by a sense of purpose. They met Carmen's father at a quiet cafe near their apartment. He was already seated at a table when they arrived, a stack of printouts in front of him. He stood as they approached, enveloping Carmen in a warm hug. "How are you feeling today, sweetheart?" he asked as they sat down. Carmen smiled, touched by his concern. "Better. Still a bit overwhelmed, but excited too." They spent the rest of the lunch discussing next steps. Carmen's father insisted on helping financially with hormone therapy and any future surgeries Carmen might want. They decided that finding a gender therapist would be the first priority, followed by looking into hormone replacement therapy. As they were finishing their meals, Carmen's father cleared his throat, looking slightly nervous. "There's one more thing," he said. "I've been thinking about the house." Carmen furrowed her brow, confused by the sudden change in topic. "The house? What about it?" Her father took a deep breath. "Well, it's too big for just me now, and I've been thinking maybe it's time for a change, for all of us." Jennifer leaned forward, intrigued. "What kind of change?" "I was thinking of selling the house," he continued, his eyes fixed on Carmen. "It's full of memories, but it's also, well, it's where you grew up as someone you're not. I thought maybe we could use the money from the sale to buy a place that's closer to the city, something that could be a fresh start for all of us." Carmen's breath caught in her throat. The idea of leaving her childhood home was both terrifying and oddly freeing. "But, Dad, where would you live?" He smiled, a hint of excitement in his eyes. "That's the thing. I was thinking, what if we found a place with a separate in-law suite? That way I'd be close by if you need me, but you and Jennifer would have your own space." Jennifer's eyes widened. "Are you sure about this? It's a big change." Carmen's father nodded. "I'm sure. I want to be there for Carmen through this journey, but I also want to give you both your privacy. And honestly, the idea of downsizing and being closer to the city appeals to me." Carmen felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Dad, I don't know what to say. This is so much." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "You don't have to say anything, sweetheart. Just think about it. We don't have to decide right away." Jennifer squeezed Carmen's other hand. "It's a lovely idea. We could look at places together, find something that works for all of us." Carmen nodded, overwhelmed by the love and support surrounding her. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's look into it." As they left the cafe, Carmen felt a mixture of emotions swirling inside her. Excitement for the future, gratitude for her family's support, and a touch of nostalgia for the life she was leaving behind. But underneath it all was a sense of rightness, of finally moving towards the person she was always meant to be. Over the next few weeks, Carmen's life became a whirlwind of appointments and research. She found a gender therapist she connected with, a kind woman named Dr. Ramirez, who specialized in helping transgender individuals navigate their transitions. Their sessions were intense but enlightening, helping Carmen work through years of repressed feelings and fears. Meanwhile, Jennifer and Carmen's father threw themselves into house hunting. They spent weekends visiting properties, looking for the perfect balance of space and privacy. Carmen joined them when she could, but often found herself overwhelmed by the process. One Saturday afternoon, after a particularly draining therapy session, Carmen sat on the couch in their apartment, scrolling through photos of houses on her laptop. Jennifer came in from the kitchen, carrying 2 mugs of tea. "How are you doing, love?" she asked, setting the mugs down on the coffee table. Carmen sighed, closing the laptop. "I'm okay, just tired. Sometimes it feels like everything is happening so fast." Jennifer sat down next to her, pulling Carmen into her arms. "I know it's a lot. We can slow down if you need to. There's no rush." Carmen leaned into Jennifer's embrace, drawing comfort from her presence. "It's not that I want to slow down," she said softly. "I'm just scared. What if I start hormone therapy and I don't like the changes? What if we move and I regret leaving our old neighborhood? What if—" "Hey?" Jennifer interrupted gently, cupping Carmen's face in her hands. "It's okay to be scared. This is a big change, but remember, nothing is irreversible. We can always adjust our plans if something doesn't feel right." Carmen nodded, feeling some of the tension leave her body. "You're right, I want so badly for everything to be perfect." Jennifer smiled, pressing a soft kiss to Carmen's forehead. "It won't be perfect, love, but it will be real, and it will be you. That's what matters." They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, sipping their tea. Then Carmen's phone buzzed with a text from her father. "Dad thinks he's found the perfect place," she said, reading the message. "He wants to know if we can go see it tomorrow." Jennifer nodded. "Sure, if you're up for it. Where is it?" Carmen pulled up the listing on her phone, her eyes widening as she scrolled through the photos. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "Look at this garden." The house was a charming craftsman-style bungalow with a separate guest house in the back. The main house had plenty of space for Carmen and Jennifer, while the guest house would be perfect for Carmen's father. The garden was lush and private, with a small koi pond and a covered patio. "It looks lovely," Jennifer agreed, peering over Carmen's shoulder. "And it's not too far from the city center. We could still walk to our favorite cafe." Carmen nodded, feeling a spark of excitement. "Should we go see it?" Jennifer smiled, pulling Carmen close. "Absolutely. Who knows? This could be the start of our new chapter." The next day, as they pulled up to the house, Carmen felt a flutter of nerves in her stomach. Her father was already there, talking animatedly with the real estate agent on the front porch. As they approached, Carmen's father's face lit up. "There you are. Wait until you see inside. It's perfect." The real estate agent, a petite woman with a warm smile, introduced herself as Maria. "Shall we start the tour?" she asked, gesturing towards the front door. As they walked through the house, Carmen found herself falling in love with every room. The living room was spacious and filled with natural light, perfect for cozy evenings and small gatherings. The kitchen was modern, but retained some charming original features, like the built-in china cabinet. But it was the master bedroom that took Carmen's breath away. It had a small alcove with a window seat overlooking the garden. She could already imagine herself sitting there, watching the seasons change as she continued her journey of self-discovery. "What do you think?" Jennifer asked softly, coming up behind Carmen as she stood at the window. Carmen turned, her eyes shining. "I love it," she said. "I can see us here. I can see me here." Jennifer smiled, understanding the deeper meaning behind Carmen's words. This house represented more than just a new living space. It was a fresh start, a place where Carmen could truly be herself. They rejoined Carmen's father and Maria in the living room. "Well?" her father asked, barely containing his excitement. Carmen looked at Jennifer, who nodded encouragingly. "I think," Carmen said slowly, "I think this might be home." Her father's face broke into a wide grin. "I was hoping you'd say that. Should we make an offer?" As Maria began discussing the details of making an offer, Carmen felt a sense of peace settle over her. This house, with its warm wooden floors and sun-dappled rooms, felt like a blank canvas. Here she could paint the picture of her true self, surrounded by the love and support of her family. Later that evening, as they celebrated their potential new home with takeout and wine, Carmen's phone buzzed with an email notification. Her heart raced as she saw it was from Dr. Ramirez. "Everything okay?" Jennifer asked, noticing Carmen's sudden stillness. Carmen nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Dr. Ramirez says I'm ready. She's referring me to an endocrinologist to start hormone therapy." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.